Until next time, guys, you can love us or you can hate us, but guess what? We get some kids from Dania. So until next time,
Broward County.
Take care, guys.
Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. What's going on, guys? Now, I've been meaning to get to this video for almost a week now. I've been kind of behind. I really wanted to get to this because, you know, it's funny. Just when I look at all the different channels in the YouTube boxing community, you know, I see a lot of people who obviously do great work with their interviews and their commentary, but when it comes to the touchier subjects in boxing, such as drug testing and some of the corruption in the sport, they kind of shy away from that. So, like I said, and I always say on this channel, you know, when I cover boxing, I give you guys the whole package of boxing, not just the heavyweight division or the middleweight division or the welterweight division or the flyweight. It's all those weight classes. It's women's boxing. It's historical fight film breakdowns. It's everything. Corruption in boxing. And this is the part for me where I shine a bit of the light on the corruption in boxing. Now, what I'm referencing as far as corruption, I had an article sent to me a number of days ago from the fightjournal.com. Written by someone named Michael Dante. Now, I know a little bit about the situation because shout out to my man Thunderdome Boxing Talk. I talked to him the other day for like 3 hours, and he was basically broke down what was said between him and WBC president Mauricio Sulaimán, who I actually met in person recently. But enough of the rambling. What happened basically was, if you guys don't know, so on the undercard of James DeGale versus Badou Jack, we had that very, very entertaining, inspiring, classic fight of the year candidate in the fight between Levgen Kaitrov and Emmanuel Alim. You know, and that fight held a lot at stake. You had both guys fighting for the WBC silver title, and then you had Kaitrov, who was ranked fairly high by the WBC. He was ranked number 2. Had you know, a win for him probably would have made him worked him into position to become number 1 contender for Gennady Golovkin and maybe get a title fight with him. But unfortunately for him, there were some things that the WBC turned a blind eye to that we're going to get into in this video that could have been a major factor in why he lost that fight. Now, the fight was exciting. We take nothing away from the fight on the night. It was great to watch, but the fact of the matter is the WBC, the World Boxing Council, they did not follow their own protocol. And these are one of the things. This is one of the things, you know, when you look at boxing, right? The sport at its core is amazing, you know. But as far as some of the things, some of the external factors, that's what really plagues the sport. Boxing, it's almost like a cyclops. It gives itself so many damn black eyes. But I want to get into it. So if you guys don't know, WBC has the clean boxing program, and the objective of the clean boxing program is to clean up the sport, is to make sure that the fighters are being protected, that guys aren't, you know, walking around with anabolic steroids in the system, that guys aren't getting this crazy, you know, advantage out of nowhere. You know, guys, so everything's on an even playing field, and we can get guys winning fair and square. And that's a great thing if it's executed the way it's supposed to be executed. And unfortunately, if you read the WBC's own rules and their own protocol, they didn't follow their own protocol for this fight. So let me just get into it. So according to the WBC, it states on their own website, in regards to the clean boxing program and guys fighting for any, not just a world title, but any WBC affiliated title. And this is what it says in regards to that. It says, I quote, "Within 15 days of monthly ratings, any boxer entering the top 15 must register for the WBC clean boxing program. Failure to do so will result in removal from ratings and being allowed to fight for any WBC affiliated title until fighter is enrolled in the clean boxing program." Now, like I said earlier, Kaitrov, number 2 ranked by the WBC, and Emmanuel Alim, who at the time, and actually right now, as I'm shooting this video, which is it's now February 1st, 12:30 a.m. here on the East Coast. They haven't updated it yet. It's actually, Alim's still unranked on the WBC middleweight rankings. As you guys can see, I'm leaving you the screenshot right now as I'm talking. You guys can see that Alim is nowhere to be found in these top 40. So he was unranked, and basically guys who are fighting for titles are supposed to be ranked in the top 15, and they didn't follow their own protocol in that regard. Now, Kaitrov has been enrolled in VADA testing, which we know to be the most stringent drug testing in boxing. It's a drug testing in boxing where it's they use the carbon isotope test, and they basically, you know, it's to ensure that the guys are not on any sort of performance enhancing drug. He was on that form of drug testing, so he was clean going into the fight. Aleem, on the other hand, was not enrolled in the clean boxing program, not enrolled in VADA testing, and from what I gathered from other sources, or you know, in the boxing world, Aleem was he decided to take, I believe it was state commission drug testing, which is probably the softest drug testing you could possibly have in all boxing. Guys get around that easily all the time. So the issue was simply this: in that particular fight, you had a fighter who was clean, who was enrolled in the clean boxing program for a year, and he fought an unranked guy who wasn't enrolled in the clean boxing program, who had no valid form of drug testing. So when you look at that, the question you got to ask yourself is, why would the WBC, who's supposed to be policing this type of stuff, why are they letting an unranked, you know, guy who has no valid form of drug testing, why are they allowing him to fight for one of their titles? That just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Now, it's as simple as this: the WBC, they violated their own rules and their own protocol by allowing a fighter who was unranked, with no documented testing before the fight, to compete for an affiliated version of one of their titles. Now, the guy we're talking about is obviously Emmanuel Aleem. He did get the win, and you know, it's funny because when Mauricio Sulaimán, when he was speaking about, and this is when he was asked in a recent conversation with the author of this article, in a recent conversation he had with Mauricio Sulaimán, it was stated that you know, Aleem was not enrolled in the clean boxing program due to being unranked, but that now he must enroll as a champ. So basically what Sulaimán was saying, that hold on, let me pull up the quotes. I'm gonna pull up the exact quotes because I want to be 100% sure. I want to be 100% factual with what I'm saying, and I'm gonna leave the article for you guys in the description. So here's what Sulaimán said in regards to Aleem not being enrolled in the clean boxing program and or VADA testing prior to the fight with Kaitrov. He said, I quote, "Hello, Aleem was not enrolled. Aleem was not enrolled when he fought because the mandatory enrollment is for top 15 fighters. He must now enroll as he is the WBC silver champion." So basically he's saying that he wasn't enrolled prior to the fight because of the fact that that's only for top 15 fighters. But now that he's become the champion, now he can enroll, which makes no sense, because if you guys go look at the middleweight rankings, right? You can go on right now on the screen, in the screenshot I showed you guys earlier, or I'll leave it for you guys in the description. I mean, you got guys like you got a guy like Brian Rose. He's ranked 16th. He was enrolled in the clean boxing program, and I know a lot of these guys who may not actually have it on their on the WBC website. I'm pretty sure some of these guys are enrolled in VADA drug testing. But it's funny because you can look at the rankings, right? You guys can look at the rankings. If you go look at the middleweight rankings, it's saying that it's for top 15 guys, that all guys in the top 15 should be enrolled in the clean boxing program and or VADA testing. And it's funny because when you look at the screenshot that I'm showing you, you look at from number 1, so from number 1 through 7, or no, 1 through 8, numbers 1 through 8 and 10 and 15, none of those guys, according to the WBC's website, are enrolled in the clean boxing program. So that includes some of the notable names that would include would be guys like David Lemieux, Ryo Murata, Matt Korobov, you know, some notable names, and those guys aren't enrolled. The guys in the top 15 aren't even enrolled in the clean boxing program. So the clean boxing program, to me, due to Sulaimán saying that he can't enroll because he wasn't in the top 15, any fighter can enroll. And if they're truly about fighter safety, how come it's not guys in the top 40 being enrolled? You know, I feel like if the WBC was really as committed to cleaning up the sport as they say they are, and you know, basically about fighter safety, why limit it to guys in the top 15? Why not make it guys in the top 40, so that way when guys do get to those rankings and do get to title shots, you don't have to worry about getting the paperwork done. You can just make the fight, and you know the guys are clean, and just put them through the proper testing, that they come out positive, they come out positive. But they're not doing that. There's ways of getting around that. So I'm gonna read you guys quotes from Mauricio Sulaimán about fighter safety and what the clean boxing program was created for in the first place. And nothing I'm saying are quotes that I'm just pulling out of my behind. I'm gonna leave the article for you guys in the description, so let me just pull it up. So these are all from different dates. You had multiple times in December and once in January where he talks about the clean boxing program. So we'll start with the quote that he had on January 13th of this year, which is the day before this fight took place. Sulaimán said, I quote, "We are all standing together, shoulder to shoulder, keeping the sport of boxing great and safe. We are very proud of you all, and also thank you for showing the world that you truly and deeply care for the sport, for fair play and clean boxing." December 27, 2016, he has another quote where he says, "We have had cases of testings that we have done, and every single time that my phone rings, I see the name Margaret Goodman, I start shaking. But this is part of the program. We are not going back. We are committed to the clean boxing program, and I am very, very proud of that." And then we also have, let's see, December, another quote from December. I quote, "As I was about to board my flight from Miami back to Mexico," so I'm assuming, hold on, so I'm assuming that this is sometime after the WBC convention here in South Florida that I went to. So this is what he said, I quote, "As I was about to board my flight from Miami back to Mexico City, when my phone rang, it was Dr. Margaret Goodman from VADA, and she notified me that an adverse finding was confirmed on Alexander Povetkin's anti-doping test for anabolic steroids, just 20 hours before the scheduled fight versus Stavern for the WBC interim heavyweight title. As I sat down on the plane, I explained to my wife, Christine, I was feeling numb. I was shocked, and the great feeling I was enjoying just minutes before due to the great success of our convention was completely overshadowed by terrible news. Then my wife said, what a statement this is for the WBC. This proves the greatness of the clean boxing program and the commitment to protect the fighters and the sport." And then he goes on by saying, "My wife helped me understand something that I was not seeing. And today I stand tall as we are taking great steps and there is no turning back. The WBC lost 2 heavyweight fights in 2016. We spent much time, efforts, and money trying to resolve multiple problems which have risen from the Wilder, Povetkin, and now Stavern Povetkin matters. But safety has no compromise." Again, I emphasize the last part of that quote, guys. Safety has no compromise. Now, let's see. And yeah, man, so he goes on about fair play, and it's funny because, you know, I didn't really talk about this during the fight week, but I knew this. I mean, you know, you had the Joe Smith Bernard Hopkins thing, and look, Bernard Hopkins, all respect to him, great fighter, but these are the facts of the matter. You know, Bernard Hopkins was basically, you know, hold on. Basically, okay, so you had in the Hopkins Joe Smith fight, you had a guy in Bernard Hopkins who, you know, let's be honest, as much as I love the guy, throughout the course of his career, or I would say towards the latter stages of his career, more importantly, he was definitely on some stuff. He had definitely found ways around the stricter drug testing in boxing. He was fighting a guy in Joe Smith who was VADA tested, who was clean. Hopkins, on the other hand, was not VADA tested, and he was not clean. And the WBC allowed for that to happen. So the WBC, as we've known in the past, has always been very selective of who they give preferential treatment to. Like, if you guys remember, it's not, you in boxing you cannot hold a world title in multiple weight classes simultaneously. You have to vacate one of them. And for years, I mean, after Floyd Mayweather beat Canelo Alvarez and became a champ at 154, although he fought at 152, he was a champ at 154, and he didn't defend that belt ever. And he held that belt for like two or three years, never once defended it. So they're very selective about who they give their preferential treatment to. And I don't know why Aleem was able to get around the fact that I don't know why Aleem was allowed to fight for the title. I mean, if they wanted him to fight for the title, then the prior protocol would have been to put him in the ratings, because he wasn't in the rankings. They could have put him in the ratings. They could have bumped him up in the top 15. They could have put him under VADA testing, and then he could have fought Kaitrov. But that's not what happened. He's unranked. In fact, if you go on the WBC right now, as I'm speaking, which is 12:41 a.m. February 1st, 2017, on the WBC website, it hasn't even been updated yet. Aleem is not ranked on the WBC website. Kaitrov's still number 2. They haven't updated yet. So I would figure not too long after this video, when the new ratings are updated, he'll be in there somewhere because he beat Kaitrov. But I mean, these are the kind of things, people, that are holding the sport back, and these are the kind of things that have to be resolved. So my question to boxing fans, out there would be, how credible at this point in time? Because a lot of us, for a large amount of time, we were all behind the clean boxing program. I mean, I was behind the clean boxing program. I wanted to see the WBC, enforce it on as many fighters as possible, keep the sport clean, and be a flag bearer for cleaning up the sport. That's what it sounded like they were doing. But the fact that you had Hopkins get around the clean boxing program and VADA testing, you had Aleem get around, fight for a title without being VADA tested in the clean boxing program, it just really forces you to ask the question: is the clean boxing program really credible? And is the clean boxing program really about fighter safety, or is it just another creative way for the WBC to create money to put in their own pockets? Because we know these people in boxing are shady, and we know that they'll do anything for a quick buck. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. I was at the convention. I was here at the WBC convention in South Florida, the Dillard Hotel, not too far from where I live, and I met Mauricio Sulaimán, and at the convention, right, there was, I'll actually edit it in here, so not too long after I'm done talking, you guys can see the clip. At the convention, they had, I think the name of the drink was called Amaro Tequila. It's this brand of Mexican tequila, and it was WBC edition of tequila. And the very attractive women who were selling who were selling the tequila, they were saying like, well, we're gonna donate a portion of whatever you buy from the tequila to the Jose Sulaimán Foundation. So that all sounds great, but then I asked them, okay, so what does that do? They say, well, it supports fighters all around the world. And then I say, well, how does it support fighters all around the world? And they didn't know. So they're out there selling a product for a foundation that they have no clue what the hell it does. And if I'm taking an educated guess, they're selling that tequila, and the money is not going to fighters or helping fighters. It's going to the pockets of Sulaimán, Mauricio Sulaimán. That's the only educated guess I can make.
Let's see. Alright, so what's your name?
Hi, I'm Jessica.
Jessica, and you're with the WBC, right? Or
Well, we're with the Amaro tequila.
Okay, and this is like a tequila, and they...
This is a tequila from 100% from agave, Mexico. And we're just we're selling it at $80, and $20 goes to the Jose Sulaimán Fund.
Jose Sulaimán Fund. And what exactly, for the people out there that don't know, what does that do?
That supports fighters all over the world.
Okay, in like what ways?
I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah, we're not 100% sure, but...
Fuck you.
Because and something as small and frivolous as that, like if something as small and frivolous as that by the WBC looks that shady, then why wouldn't something as important and as much of a moneymaker as it can be as drug testing and boxing, why would there not be corruption in there? These are the questions I'm asking myself now, because it's just ridiculous. Kaitrov to my knowledge, from what I know about him, was a top level amateur from Ukraine. The guy was slowly paying his dues and putting himself in position to get a title shot against fellow countrymen. Well, not countrymen, because he's from Kazakhstan, but against Gennady Golovkin. This is a guy that was on the same Olympic team with Lomachenko in 2012. He beat Ryota Murata, who's pretty high up in those rankings. I believe Ryota Murata, I have it in front of me, Murata is ranked number 5 in the middleweight rankings as I'm looking at him right now. Kaichow's ranked 2nd. Ryota's a top 5 ranked fighter by the WBC, and I know that he was a top-rated prospect. I know he's a top-rated prospect in the division. So with that being said, Kaichov definitely had a lot going for him. And now that you have this guy Alim, who, credit to him, steroids or no steroids, he showed a lot of heart in that fight. He was able to withstand what Kaichov was bringing to him, but he still had steroids in the system. We'll let to believe that, because you didn't go through the proper protocol. There's no clear-cut or definitive answer from the WBC and or Alim himself. So all we can do is just assume. And maybe if Alim or his team or the WBC or someone gets a hold of this video, you guys can message me on YouTube and or Facebook and or Instagram and or email, because they're all in my about section, and you can give me some clarity on this, because this looks really bad for boxing. And it just looks like, from my vantage point, from many of the fans and people in the know's vantage point, it looks like another way for the WBC and Sulaimán to siphon money into their own pockets. Like, that's just what it is. And it's just crazy, man. Like, we hear, like, we've heard many times in the past, Teddy Atlas has talked about corruption in boxing, and it's this type of stuff. It's this type of crap that holds boxing back from being, it's a great sport, but I'm saying from being a great sport in its totality, in and out the ring. Because sports at that level, at the professional level, it's a business, and while it may be profitable for them, it's still hurting the long-term growth of the sport, because you got guys getting preferential treatment like Mayweather and Canelo and Bernard Hopkins. And you have other guys. There's just no even playing field. There's no definitive even playing field. And the WBC is supposed to be, it's the most coveted world title in boxing. First of all, I will say it for sure, it looks the coolest out of all of them. And second of all, it has a lot of history. There's a lot of history behind the WBC belt. But with the clean boxing program, with the lack of them enforcing their own rules on certain fighters, with the creation of subtitles such as the silver belt, the diamond belt, all these different belts, they're devaluing their own title and their own credibility. So Sulaimán, WBC, just get it together, man. It's ridiculous. Kaitrov, this is what frustrates me, because boxing is not basketball, boxing is not soccer, boxing is not hockey, it's not baseball, it's not a team sport. Losses in boxing are worse than any other sport, because fighters' careers can get set back for years upon years before they get back to that point they were at before they lost, and they have to work years to get back to that point. So Kaitrov's this is how it is. Kaitrov is a Ukrainian fighter. Guys of his magnitude and guys of his pedigree, if they wind up taking a loss early in the career before they can snatch up a title, it takes longer for them to get back to the previous position they were once in, because he can beat he's gonna beat the majority of guys in his weight class, and he's not a big name. He's not bringing a lot of money to the table, so he's very high risk, low reward, and he's gonna have to work.
All right, so the audio, for whatever reason, cut off while I was editing it on my computer last night. But what I wanted to say was Kaitrov suffered a loss to Alim, and we know for guys like Kaitrov, they're gonna have to work twice as hard just to get back to the point they were at. Being ranked number 2 by the WBC or any sanctioning body, putting yourself in position for a title shot. It is gonna hold him back for a couple of fights, and now he has to kind of work his way back up. So it's a terrible situation. Everything that transpired for that fight. You want things to kind of be clean and even, but that's not how it worked out. So I think as boxing fans, we gotta really question, the credibility of the clean boxing program because of the fact that we had, the WBC violate its own protocol, and they couldn't even follow their own protocol, and they're kind of just like cherry picking within their own rules to manipulate, how they want the fights to go. So, it is what it is. Hopefully we can just speak on these things. Hopefully we get more people in the YouTube box community speaking out on these types of things and not just being fanboys with cameras. But that's what it is, man. So let me know what you guys think. The Aleem Kaitrov, scandal, the whole situation, the thing that happened. What do you think about how the WBC violated its own protocol? And what do you think? What are some steps you feel that they could take, or not? I'm not gonna say they could take, because it's obvious what they should do. They should actually just follow their own damn rules. So it's a stupid question to ask. But just give me your thoughts down below. Take the time to subscribe, and you can love me or you can hate me. But I'm just a kid from Dania. So until next time, take care, guys.